looking a lot at these tech companies and the Electronic Frontier Foundation, I don't know if you saw that, came out and said, this is really not cool. The next person to get banned might be somebody you agree with. Can you speak to
plenty of people agree with me, and they don't like the fact that I'm banned off these servers. When it happens to people that we don't like white supremacists, white nationalists, the KKK, right? And most normal people, most reasonable people can agree that they're odious people with bad views, but they must be allowed to express them as horrible as they are, right? When it happens to them, nobody really turns too much of a blind eye. When the Daily Stormer was chased off the internet and now has to go to the dark web, well, I don't want them chased off the internet. I want them where I can see them. I want to know how many of them there are. I want to know what they're saying. Quite often they're saying horrible things about me because they hate me and I hate them. I want to have feuds with them. I want to be able to argue with them. I want to beat them in public so that other people can see that they're wrong. When you drive those movements underground, you make them attractive. You make them sexy. You make them irresistible. It's the same human psychology as Madonna's videos being banned in the 1990s. They were the only ones people wanted to see. And when you make my book difficult to publish on the basis of nothing, you make people want to read it. With the result, there's 4 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. When you make something forbidden, you make it attractive. And that can be to the benefit of safe, family-friendly stuff like me, or it could be to the benefit of ugly ideologies like white nationalism and white supremacy. And just by virtue of banning them, you make them curious, you make them interesting, you make people want to find out more about them. And these technology platforms that have traded for so long on being neutral platforms are now starting to make very heavily editorial decisions. And we're starting to find out what these companies believe in. And it turns out that their beliefs don't stop with the far right, with the ugly people that we all hate. Their beliefs stop quite short of that, almost like anyone to the right of Jane Fonda. They don't like very much, and they're perfectly happy to censor. I had to strike a deal with Facebook just to be allowed to use a particular word that was in the name of my previous tour. And they said you can only use it about yourself, and you can only use it in reference to the tour, but if you use it any other way, we'll take your page away. And this is like a verified page with 2 million followers.
The F word.
The F word that was on my tour bus.
So they had like
maybe not the 4-letter one you're thinking of.
Like a dedicated person to make sure you're using it properly.
I can't describe myself in a particular. No, look, they have to. Look, can you imagine being the person?
I just love that they have to police that.
Can you imagine being the
Janet, did he use it in the right way today? I'm on that.
Being the guy at Facebook that has to read my posts, working out if I was using a word about myself or others, and then getting in touch with my social media guy saying you can't do that. We're going to.
Oh wow!
It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And this is now standard operating procedure for much of Silicon Valley. They're going to find that they alienate not just the people that they think they're alienating, which is this lunatic tiny fringe of crazies. They're going to find actually that they alienate most of the country, because actually most liberals believe in free speech too. It's just the crazy ones on TV that don't. It's the CNN anchors and people like that. Most liberals are perfectly happy to allow you to present your arguments, even if they don't feel like responding to them. It's just a tiny minority, but that tiny minority runs rampant in Silicon Valley.
We did a poll actually recently showing that a plurality of Bay Area folks want this. So we got the Patriot Prayer people coming, Christopher. We did a poll and 47% of Bay Area folks said yes, they should be able to come. 34% said no, and then 20% didn't know.
Most
but
people are reasonable about these things.
I think that you're right that most people, most liberals, we're here.
No, but I mean, look, in California of all places, like half the population says okay. That's a big deal. That means that pretty much everybody's in favor of free speech. But it's interesting that the tiny minority of people who aren't occupy such positions of power. They run Silicon Valley. They dominate the media. They run universities. They run Hollywood. All of these centers of cultural power in this country are run by people who don't share that belief in free speech, who don't respect the First Amendment like the rest of us do. And that is what Berkeley Free Speech Week is about, and that is, unfortunately, what Silicon Valley is proving over and over again. Silicon Valley got really embarrassed and busted by this memo, this James guy, who posted a memo just asking people to look at some studies. He wasn't even advocating for a political position. The guy's a libertarian. But just for pointing at some studies, he was fired because there are certain subjects that just cannot be discussed at Google. Well, this is the company that provides our email and our search results. That's horrifying. That is so scary in ways that I haven't even fully thought out yet because I've been busy. But there are so many ways in which I wish that wasn't true because it's so petrifying that a company that has so much purchase on all of our lives, without which none of our businesses would operate and none of our personal lives could function, won't allow you to discuss science. And this is a company whose name is an abstract mathematical term. And some and some people within that company have such extreme politics that science is off limits when it comes to talking about the differences between men and women. That's remarkable and terrifying.